After hundreds of failed attempts, I finally come up with a way to convert pictures and photos into two-color artwork for laser cutting, for decals, for templates, or even for 3D prints. And the key to getting it to work came down to one word that I didn't even know existed. I've never seen anyone else do this, so today I'm going to share it with you, and we are not just going to be drawing art, we are also making it so you can see how good it looks, made from 20 gauge cold rolled steel on the xTool MetalFab. I've been working on this for a very long time, and it started when I wanted to be able to include images into my 3D prints by only adding one extra color. The problem is that converting any image with hundreds of thousands of colors into something with just two colors isn't really that simple. Converting an image into effectively a stencil without looking like one is even harder. But now with the right techniques, it's actually pretty easy. So first we need a picture, and the higher definition of the picture, the better. If what you have is blurry, you can still use it. Just plug it into an image upscaler or ask Gemini to upscale the image and it'll do a pretty good job. There aren't really any limitations to what you can or can't convert, but it does seem to work best when you have a crisp foreground and an out of focus background. It also works well with a blank background, and I've been using white, but other colors could work as well. So when I was coming up with this process, I was a little bit conflicted at the beginning. I wasn't sure if it was better to border every important line, creating what's effectively called single line art, where all of the lines are connected, because it's as if we drew this without lifting our hand off of the paper. Or a different direction would be, do we want something more representative of the original picture? And personally, I like to match the original as much as possible, so that's the direction I decided to go. So I was using ChatGPT to try and convert my photos, and I was not having much luck at all. And when Gemini came out with Nano Banana for images, it made a huge difference, and what wasn't possible suddenly seemed like it could finally work. With Gemini though, I tried everything I could think of. I tried stencilize the image, make this image so it could be laser cut, convert the image to black and white, and nothing was working. And that is because the key to getting it all to work came down to the addition of that one word. And it is a style of art that doesn't actually seem like it has a chance. Oh, but it does have a chance, and that style is called the Notan style. It's a form of art dating back to the mid-1850s, and it uses high contrast lights and darks together to form a provocative image. So I think the best example of this is the yin and the yang, though the Notan style is Japanese in origin and the yin yang is Chinese in origin. In any case, those shapes and those colors lend themselves perfectly to what we're trying to create here. We have a beautiful dog here, and if this works out, I will make this for my friend as well. So you'd think this would be easy with the dog being mostly dark and light already. So let's try it with just saying make into the style of Notan and see what happens. So that's very much the style. We got what we asked for. It doesn't work though, unfortunately, and that's because that's only one piece of the recipe. Now, if you try this too, I find that I have much better success if I completely start over. If I don't, it tends to reference the previous generation, and it'll just end up wasting your time. So a new chat, and then let's add one more ingredient. So we're gonna give it some context, and that is that this is gonna become metal wall art, and it's gonna be cut with a fiber laser. And by doing this, the reference material should be much more refined. I'm going to say that it's better, but you may disagree, but at least we are going in the right direction, and that's because we can actually cut this out with the laser. Unfortunately, it just won't look very good when we do. Now it's really just a matter of the details. We're going to ask it to ignore the background and add in a lot more detail. And in this case, it's tough to know how to do that, so I'm going to guide it a little bit by saying that the highlights in the fur are where those should be added. And now we're getting really close, so it's really just a matter of dialing it in and making a few little tweaks. So now this is probably the time where I would suggest continuing with the chat rather than just starting over when you have something that's really close to what you're looking for. But it's also very important to add in the original image again. I don't exactly know why this is. It just does not seem to remember images correctly. And we can add in the entire prompt again as well, but with the additional features that we would like to see. Now in my case, I'm just asking to add in more detail and also to make sure that there are no small pieces that can fall away from the rest. So if you plan on doing this and putting it into a 3D print, I would go much more basic because the parts on a 3D printer are usually not that big. And then of course the nozzle size is limited to 0.4 millimeters. Although you can use 0.2, it just takes a really long time. But if you're going to be using this for laser cutting, you can add in a ton of detail. If you're going to be using it for laser engraving, you don't really need to do this method, but it's still interesting to try and create your own art from your photos. So basically just dial in the detail level that you want until you get it just right. I think this is so neat because if somebody's going to buy metal wall art, I think this is the best kind of it because it's something with significance and meaning and it's very personal to them. So I tried that on my 2003 Ford Ranger and I did change the view angle and added a little bit more dramatic lighting before the conversion, and you can see here it turned out awesome. I also did one of the most iconic cars of all time, the Toyota Tercel, and I think it turned out great. I did the Traxxas Bandit, which was my first remote control buggy, and I think it looks really good too. There are a couple little issues with it. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And I had great results with the full body grizzly bear, and I had awesome results with the grizzly bear head. I also tried a stegosaurus. I also tried a bald eagle. I also tried a beaver. I did the Joker and it turned out pretty well. And this is one that I tried in a previous video and it's actually up on my garage wall right now. And using the more detailed method that we came up with in this video, this is what it looks like now. And we have a complete control over that detail. We can ask for more, or we can ask for less. The less uniformity in the original image, the better. And if you're trying something like a car, reflections are actually your friend, and adding more reflections and more shadows will give you a much more dramatic look, but it's also going to give you better structure in your final artwork. Now, if you're working on an animal, the fur highlights are what we want to help out with this process instead. So this is definitely a case of garbage in, garbage out. The better your original picture is, the better your results will be. And then if you don't have xTool Studio, I would recommend it, if not just for the use of the SVG creation. It's very fast and very accurate. So we take our image, we press trace, and it gives us a really fast closed vector image. The close part is very important. And then we can export that. If we want to tweak some things or extrude it to make sure that we know what it's going to look like, we can do that now as well. Now, thanks to this software, I do not trace anything anymore. I just use this, and I think it should be free for anyone to download. Now, before I cut anything out, I think it's also important, bring this into Fusion or another software that's similar and extrude the subject and then move that body around. Because if there are any small pieces which are not supported, you're going to be able to identify them here. And then you can make some small tweaks to the picture, like the Traxxas Bandit that I did here, where the text and also the rims were not completely connected. Other than that, it's actually really good, but those are critical areas. So we can draw some very thin lines which will not affect the overall look very much, and then that provides the support that we need. Armed with these techniques, you can turn any photo into art, so you can have a simple SVG for your 3D prints. You can also use it for metal wall art like what I'm doing, or you can use it in a diode laser as well, or you can even use it to create decals if you have a way to cut them. This is the Grizzly. It's huge. You can't see on the screen just how big this is going to be. It's going to be about 2 feet tall, just slightly under. And you can see I have now a border all the way around the outside. I have some holes to be able to mount it as well, because this is going to become a piece of artwork that I'm going to try and sell when I'm finished. And there was a space at the bottom calling out to be filled, so I put the word Grizzly down there below, and you can see it's stencilized text as well. And what I'm using today is mild steel. It's cold rolled, and it is 20 gauge. The issue that I ran into with this material is that it's coated in oil just so it doesn't rust, which isn't a big problem, but that all needs to be cleaned off, especially if it's going to be painted, which is what I am going to do at the end of this video. All right, put our clamp down on this side, tighten it down. So because I already have cut a piece out here, this is something I've already sold, then I want to try and use this material a bit better. So what I'm going to do is actually turn it sideways because we're a little bit narrower than we are tall, and I'll try and keep a long strip here that I can use for something else. Standard 2mm nozzles installed in there. I have it in the 1mm carbon steel sheet. We're using the air compressor, 2mm nozzle, 1mm thickness. We need to calibrate the sensor. Let's go ahead and process. I'm going to turn all the lights off and we can see inside. I was really worried about this piece sticking up like this. You can see there it fell and the triangles kind of guided it down, but the nozzle went right around the outside, so no problem, easy. Oh yeah. Look at that. That is a ton of detail. Holy cow. This text looks really good. Beauty. I'm super happy with how that turned out. Now this is a really bad time of year to be painting, but I wanted to see what this looks like when it's painted black. That is the ideal color for something like this. We get a lot of pop out of it. It really does depend on the wall color that's behind it, but I think black is going to work out the best. So I'm just going to clean it with some alcohol. What the heck is that? Whoa, crazy. Look at this thing. Never seen one of those before. Great. Well, I don't know if you could call that a light coat. That is a powerful spray can. Look how this turned out. Absolutely awesome. I think it's missing one thing, something to really make it pop, and that is this is what it was missing. 1x12 rustic pines. We have the texture on there. Got good contrast. There's our finished pine board, so it's 1 inch thick now. Flat on the back, still rough on the front. That's the surface I like. Obviously adding the wood is optional, but I think it gives it a little bit something extra, and I will end up recessing an adjustable mount in the back so it's easy to level and it's also going to be stable and secure on the wall. So now the question is, how much do you think I could sell this bear for? If you'd like to try this process for yourself, I will have the prompt down below in the video description that you can try out. I can't be 100% sure, but it seemed like the more of these that I did, the more Gemini learned what exactly I was looking for, and the better the results we're getting. So your results could end up being a little bit different than mine, at least at the very beginning. I hope this video inspired you to give it a try, and if you want to help support my channel and keep me making content like this, consider subscribing and checking out the links below if you're in the market for a laser for cutting metal like the xTool MetalFab. I also have links for my top picks for 3D printers and also CNC machines down there as well. I also wanted to mention I have a Kickstarter coming out very soon, and I hope you will tune in for that video when it's released as well. Thanks to each of my patrons for helping to support this channel, and thank you for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you on the next one.